Welcome back to another episode on the Aaron Doughty podcast. My name's Aaron Doughty, and today I'm going to be sharing with you the most powerful way to let go of control, let go of expectation, let go of outcome, let go of labels. Really, it's just a whole... Damn, my fingers are yellow. I go into the cold plunge every day as part of a morning routine. And it's at like 40, right now it's at 47 degrees. Normally it's colder. But anytime I get out, my hands get really yellowy and blood flow isn't in my fingers. And people sometimes mention it in YouTube videos like, do you smoke cigarettes and stuff like that? No. I just go into a cold plunge every morning. Cold plunge I find is just very powerful for blood circulation, waking up really. And it's good for the body. It's good for skin, stuff like that. You can, even if you don't have a cold plunge, you can use a cold shower every morning. I used to do that before I had a cold plunge. Anyways, that's a whole side note right now. But this episode was really inspired too because I've had from this last, I would say 5 weeks, 3 to 5 weeks, more transformation in my own life than I have ever had in my entire life. And a lot of it most of it's come from just reading one book and practicing one idea. And it's going to sound so simple that most people will overlook it. But it really is the most powerful insight that I've ever had and changed my life in so many ways. And maybe that's because, I think if you look at what the Buddha said, isn't it interesting that it's called the Buddha? Buddha, the Buddha. Like people call Jesus the Jesus. That's interesting. Anyways, that's a side note as well. All suffering, so he said that attachment and desire is the root of all suffering. Say it again. Attachment and desire is the root of all suffering. So if you look at that scale of consciousness that maybe you've seen me share in like 100 YouTube videos or more than that, in that scale of consciousness, at the bottom you got shame, fear, guilt, anger, neutrality, willingness, acceptance, reasoning, love, joy, peace, and enlightenment. And that's going up from 0 to 1,000. Now, to move up the scale, the key is not to climb a higher ring and to reach a higher level. The key is letting go. When you let go, you naturally begin to raise up to your natural state. You naturally are love, joy, peace, and enlightenment. That's who you really are. Anything less than that is because we've attached to different ideologies, different labels, different belief systems, and that's what's kept us in lower vibe. So when we become aware of what those are and we begin to let them go, we begin to feel free. We begin to loosen up that vibe, that attachment. And also, maybe you've heard me recently, I've been on a kick on talking about desire. Desire is something that when we feel desire, and if you look at a calibration of 125 is wantingness or desire. And that's actually a pretty low vibration. It goes from 0 to 1,000. Fear is the level of 100. 125 is desire. And most people think, and we're told, desire is great. Desire is great. You got to want it. You got to really want it. Now, the thing is, and the trick with this is that what happens is most people will want something, and then it eventually propels them to take action. And then as they take action, then they start getting results. And then people say, well, the wanting was good. The problem is many people, they get into wanting and they stay in wanting for a very long time. And they want, and they want, and they want, and they're focused on what they want. They're also saying that what they want, they don't have, which means they lack it. And they're not okay with the present moment, which means they create more resistance. The more we want, the more that we actually we repel in our lives. And what I wanted to do in this video is actually go through, every single day what I do when I go to bed at night. I read for about 20, 30 minutes at least, and I go through and I screenshot different segments of a book that I'm reading. And this last month, I've just been going through the book Letting Go by Dr. David Hawkins. And I have many screenshots from the book. And what I thought I would do is go through some of these screenshots, read some of them to you, and then explain them. And these are like some of the biggest epiphanies that I have had. Now, there's different things that we can let go of. Now, one of the reasons letting go of control is so powerful is because let me try to explain this in a way, because there's not, unless you're watching the YouTube video, there is a YouTube channel called Aaron Doughty Podcast where all the videos of these are, and sometimes there'll be charts that I might share. There'll be, ways of explaining things that I think give more of a visual reference. However, when we look at moving and raising our vibration, which the more we raise our vibration, the more synchronicity we experience, the more love, the more joy, the more peace, the more we enjoy the moment, the more magical life is, really. Now what happens is, in raising our vibration, there's different levels that we go through. Now, at the very bottom levels, where we have shame, fear, guilt, anger, at those levels, a lot of times, there is a almost lack of ego in a way. It's almost like a powerlessness. We feel shame, guilt, fear. We're not taking action. We're feeling blocked. Before I got on YouTube and I started making daily videos, and I was working that 9-to-5 job selling women's shoes at Barney's, New York, which I did for like 5 years. When I was there, I was just like blocked from taking action. There was almost a loss of my own willpower. This is when a lot of people will also get into personal development, because personal development resonates at the level of willingness. Willingness is like willpower, personal development. Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk. Ironically enough, I began reading a book called Crush It by Gary Vaynerchuk back in 2017, and it was all about like how to go out there and crush it. And that was one thing that I think triggered in my mind. I read that book, and shortly afterwards, I decided to go daily on YouTube, and that's what really took my channel to a completely new level. And just my life into a completely new level. And that changed my self-image more than anything else. I started to see myself as somebody that was a quote-unquote hard worker. And from that, it was easier for me to take a lot of action. So when I talk about so there was like a lack of ego. Then I started to build the ego. And in a way, when you start taking action, willpower, Tony Robbins, stuff like that, you start building that identity around creating hard work, or creating something in your life, and it can be very powerful. Then what happens is you build up this identity, you build up this hard worker, you build up the intellectual, like who you prefer to be, and that's the middle levels of consciousness. The middle levels are acceptance, reasoning, which is the intellect of the mind, willingness, courage. These are all the levels of the ego. But then what happens is there's another level that is above that, and those you could call the higher level manifestation principles, which is letting go of control, letting go of having to take really hard action, letting go of expectation, and allowing the universe to manifest through you. A lot of enlightened yogis talk about this. There's a lot of books that reference this, a lot of ancient teachings that reference this. You literally allow the divine to flow through you. Now, the problem is that once you go from, so think of it like this. If you have that scale, if you're watching the video, then Daniel, the editor, will put the scale right here. And at the bottom, you'll have less ego. In the middle, you'll have ego. And at the top, you'll have less ego. Just that the less ego is a powerlessness at the bottom. Then you have ego in the middle, and then you have less ego at top, but the less ego at top is a channeling of the divine higher self, a channeling of the energy to flow through you. Now, the biggest game changer I've had this in my life, really, is this last month or so, I've been learning to let go and allow the energy to flow through me, to stop trying to control everything, because I'm realizing what I'm doing is I'm trying to bring the middle levels into the higher levels, and it doesn't make sense. I'm trying to control things in my life, and understand this as well. When you control, it's fear. Like, imagine you want something to happen, which, remember, want is a vibration in of itself, and you have an idea about how it should happen and when it should happen, and you insist that it happens that way. And what happens is if it doesn't start happening that way, you start to feel fear, you start to lock up, you start to create resistance. The controlling it is saying, I don't trust the universe. I don't trust there's an abundance out there. Therefore, if it doesn't happen the way that I believe it will, then it won't happen. And then I won't be powerful, or I won't get the emotion I want, or whatever it is. Now, when you release the fear, it is opening yourself up, and you release the control, you are opening yourself up to even a better way than your ego may not be able to imagine. So imagine that. Imagine that your ego can only have a certain best case scenario. And imagine there's many other probabilities. There's many other possibilities that the ego could bring something amazing to your life. But what we do is we close it off and we say, no, 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 no. This isn't natural for me to let go and allow. But what I've learned is when I have these things and these emotions come up, here's the letting go technique, by the way, from the book Letting Go by Dr. David Hawkins. You feel the emotion as it comes up. You don't try to control it. You let it be there, whatever it is. You feel it completely. And then you just make the choice to let it go. And trust the universe, and trust, and let go, and let the energy carry it. Now, the funny thing is, the more you feel it, the more you heal it, the more that it then begins to leave. It's our mind that catches on to the emotion that then recycles it in our energy field over and over and over again. But if we simply let go, we allow it to do its work. The biggest causes of suffering are attachment and desire. We attach to emotions, we attach to people, we attach to things, we attach to identity, and we attach to outcome. And when we attach, we create resistance. When we attach, we make something that is not us. A person. Ooh, if you were in my life, I would be happier. And then we need that person. And then guess what happens? We are deluded into believing that that person is going to make us happier. Not knowing that we could fill up our own cup. That person, really what it is an alignment within the inner self. And then that person's a reflection. But we think that person's going to make us happy. And then if that person starts acting any different than the way we expect him to, we start to feel resistance. Here's the funny thing. All reality on the outside is a reflection of the inside. So people are molding or resisting depending on the energy we're putting out. If we're trying to control someone else, or we want them to give us validation, we want them to show up on time, we want them to do X, Y, Z, then we're trying to manipulate them. And guess what happens when people know or feel like they're trying to be manipulated? They rebel and they do the opposite. So the more internal pressure you put on someone else, the more they feel that. And the more they feel like they have to put up a wall. I realize that I do this with when it comes to people being on time. I have this rule that people aren't respecting my time if they aren't when they're supposed to be, when they say they're going to be, when their word says they're going to be. And when that happens, it activates something inside of me. But that expectation of itself, that rule that I'm so strongly passionate about, is trying to control the other person, even if they don't consciously know it. And out of mere feeling that resistance, synchronistically, they may be more late. So what I'm having to really do is release this inner resistance within myself, this inner rule. And still, I can still have a standard. Doesn't mean like I let everybody just walk on me. But what it means is I become aware of that emotion inside. I feel it, not try to control it, and then I let it go. And I find the more I do that, then the universe just puts me in the right place at the right time. Let me go through now some of the segments from that of these things that these screenshots that I've been talking about. It's from the book called Letting Go, and they're very powerful, very powerful information. Oh, this is interesting. This is kind of a little bit separate, but this is also from, I believe, the same book. It talks about thought. Now, thought is the level of reasoning, the intellect of the mind, which is 400 on that scale of consciousness. Above thought is love. Love just is. And to really be in unconditional love, you have to let go of thinking. You have to let go of attaching to it and the intellectualization of everything. Thought, calibration 400, is powerful because it has a higher vibration than physicality. Physicality resonates at about 205. 200 is courage, but that's where the body regulates. A thought is actually a thing. It has an energy pattern. The more energy we give a thought, the more power it has to physically manifest itself. This is a paradox of much so-called health education. The paradoxical effect is that fearful thoughts are reinforced and given so much power that epidemics are actually created by the media. For example, the swine flu. The fear-based warnings about health dangers actually set up a mental environment in which the very thing that is feared will occur. How can that be? Superimposed on the physical body is an energy body whose form is very much like that of the physical body and whose pattern actually controls the physical body. And tensions and thought influence those patterns. As advanced quantum physics has shown, mere observation influences subatomic high-energy particles. This is kind of a little bit of a tangent once again. This episode's going to be full of tangents, okay? But this is also from that book. Here's the interesting thing. Dr. David Hawkins, by the way, it's rooted a lot in stuff that is very logical. It's not normally a very woo-woo thing that he talks about. This is a little bit more woo, you could say, talking about thought energy forms. But that's what makes it kind of special because he's not normally talking about stuff like that. So when he does, I like to screenshot it. But basically, think about what was happening at the beginning of the year. What he's saying is that our intellect, in a way, there is a war on consciousness. And what some people on the planet may or may not know is that if you can control the belief systems of the human population, then what you can do is you can influence people at a health level as well as a physical level or a mental energetic level. So if the mind has the power to influence the body and you can influence the minds, and you can also influence people's bodies. So you could say, oh, this thing that happened at the beginning of the year that had so much influence, is it real? Well, in a way, yes, it was something that had an effect on people. There's some that put a lot of people in pain, etc. But what if, by controlling the media, whatever it is, it controlled the people and the people's minds, and then through the placebo effect, through the energy field that it was influencing, it then influenced the body, and people believed they could get it. They were in fear about it, and that fear brought it on, which we know that when people are in fear, their immune system shuts down. Interesting, right? And that comes from attachment. People attaching to different belief systems, different thoughts, different media that then comes in that then influences them. So this is why I don't watch the news. As I record this episode right now, we have the voting thing going on. It is November 4th as I record this. And there is, I have no idea who wins. And there's a lot of uncertainty in the air. So the thing that I'm doing is I'm just letting go. Yes, if this happens or if this happens, but what about this? What about that? There's all these like what ifs. This is the one thing I would remind you of as well. Whoever wins this presidency, they do not have nearly as much power over your life as you do. There have been people that have become extraordinarily successful under every single president. And it's becoming easier and easier as time goes on with the power of the internet. But there are people that have made millions of dollars under Obama. There are people that have made millions of dollars under Trump. There are a million of people that made millions of dollars under the Bush guys or whatever. So it's not going to change our life as much as we think it will. Yes, it could. There could be different ways it did. But remember, we're all living within our different belief systems. And when we believe that it does, then it does. I don't watch the news. I literally had to go into this morning. I went in and said, oh, they're still voting and stuff. They're still figuring it out. It's like a really close race, too. there's something also that feels fishy about it. I don't know what it is. It's a similar vibe as there was at the beginning of the year. Like there's something going on. I can tell by like when you go to certain YouTube videos, the way that YouTube is saying things about elections and stuff is like right under it. It'll say like this. It's like it almost, there's ways that they prime people for certain things. And it's, to me, I feel like there's some priming going on, but I don't know exactly what it is. And I know it sounds like conspiracy theory. Oh my God. But I'm just saying. The mechanism of letting go. Here's from the book, Letting Go by Dr. David Hawkins. Letting go involves being aware of a feeling, letting it come up, staying with it, and letting it run its course without wanting to make it different or to do anything about it. It means simply let the feeling be there and focus on letting out the energy behind it. The first step is to allow yourself to have the feeling without resisting it, venting it, and allowing it to be free. And what I realized is my necessity to try to control different things in my life was literally resisting things in my life. And I wasn't enjoying life as much. And I was resisting good things from coming into my life. So let me find, let's see. What I'm going to do is go over to, let's see. To find out, to what degree are they merely, to find out, all we need to do is ask ourselves, if their happiness were best served by leaving me, how would I feel about it? This reveals the degree to which we are trying to restrict or control another person, which is attachment and not love. So sometimes we may say, I love you, but really what we're saying is, I'm attached to you. I need you. And over 2,000 years ago, the Buddha made the observation that the basis of all human suffering was due to desire and attachment. And human history has merely proven the truth of his teaching. What is the solution to this dilemma? As we can see, it is only one aspect of oneself that one becomes attached. The smaller self buys into the frightened, inadequate set of programs that we have unwittingly allowed to run us. The purpose of letting go is to de-energize these programs so they no longer run us. Then we are free to expand to the greater awareness of our higher self. That part of us which we refer to as the greater self loves rather than seeks love. Consequently, there comes an awareness that we are at times surrounded by love, which is unlimited. Love is automatically attracted to the other person who is loving. By constantly letting go of our negative feelings, we thus cure present pain and prevent the occurrence of future pain. Fear is replaced by trust, which then comes a profound sense of well-being. Immunity to grief of loss occurs when we replace dependence on the small self, the personality, with dependence on the self, the divinity within. We look for security of the self, which is eternal, instead of the small self, which is transitory. So think about that. When we are attached, it's because the fearful part of our ego is identified with something that it is not. And it's identified with believing a belief system program that says that if I have this person in my life, then I will be happy, whole, and complete. If I have this person in my life, they act this way, then I will feel happy, whole, and complete. And it's a belief system and it's a program. And that's why letting go, you become aware of it, you let it be there, and then you just don't try to control it, and then you make the choice to let it go. You then start to become more free and realize that you can fill up your own cup. But imagine you allow and you believe there's an abundance of love in the universe. You wouldn't be as so much in scarcity. If you believe that love can only come from one source, from one person, then guess what? You cut that source off, you're going to feel fear. You're going to feel like deprived. And then you try to control things. You'll attach more. A lot of times when people detach from something, like say, I have a whole video on anxious attachment, avoidant attachment styles. You can check that out if you're more interested. But one of the things a lot of people do is when an attachment is starting to be wobbly, they attach to it stronger. Because the illusion is that if I attach to it stronger, then in that control, it will remain there. The problem is that when you do that, the thing then is resisted, and the other person or whatever else it is resists it because they can feel the control and the clinginess. It creates resistance. And that very thing that you are attaching more to then becomes more and more slipping away from you. That's why the key to this whole process is letting go. I have a book. I have a YouTube video that's very popular on YouTube, and it has to do with how to get early on in my career of making YouTube videos. A lot of it was about manifestation, and one of the things people always want to know about is how do you attract an X-Pac? How do you attract a specific person? And I have a video on this, many videos on this, and basically the answer is not what people a lot of times want to hear. The answer is that you must completely 100% let go of that other person. Because if you are attached to them, they can feel that energetically. They feel that you're trying to control them, and they can feel that you're thinking about them. That's just how the energy works. Whatever we think about, we're sending energy towards. And if we're attached or we're trying to control, they feel that as resistance. What happens is when you completely let go, you are then not butchering up the vibration of it, but also when you are letting go, you are then more in abundance, not so much in scarcity. And when you're in that state, the world then responds to you in a new way. That person can also then feel it. So many times, people are having trouble getting over an ex or something like that, and then they go out with their friends, they go have fun. Not that escaping or distracting is the key. Sometimes it's healing, but then they may heal and start to feel good within themselves. And guess what happens? That person tries coming back because they can feel that energetic pull that's no longer trying to be controlled. And you've changed your vibe. You see, so letting go is about allowing the universe to take care of these things for you. The more you trust the universe, the more the universe can actually do. The less you trust the universe means the more you are trying to trust that you need to control, and then the more the universe stands to the side and lets you do that. That's why the key to this whole entire process is realizing how to let go of control. Let me read you this too. So when you're trying to control someone else, that which we want, desire, and insist upon from another person is felt by them as pressure. They will, therefore, unconsciously resist. In the above example, both persons are looking for acknowledgement. It talks about a traditional marriage and how a wife comes home and she cleans the house and looking for plants, brings in flowers. The husband comes home tired from work. He's exhausted. The wife wants to be appreciated. The husband just wants time alone. And because of that, there's resistance within the marriage. So it talks about that. It says, in the above example, both persons are looking for acknowledgement. They want it, desire it, but block it from each other. Each side feels pressured and consequently resistant. The resistance is because pressure is always felt by us as a denial of our choice. It is felt as emotional blackmail. The unconscious formula goes, give me what I want, or I will punish you by withdrawal, anger, pouting, sulking, and resentment. We all resent feeling emotionally blackmailed. We all know the resistance we feel when we become aware that someone is fishing for a compliment. And the same resistance goes on unconsciously as well as consciously. So that's something to think of. When trying to control or get something from anybody else, there's first off a belief system that them doing something else is going to make you feel a certain way. But also, it's literally not letting them choose. So, for example, when I want somebody to show up on time, what I am doing is trying to control them to come by at a certain, because I have this very strong rule, and the thing is then they aren't able to choose to be on time or to choose to be early because I'm trying to control it. Whether they consciously know this or not, it's a subconscious thing. They feel that as resistance, and then they synchronistically just get into the pattern, or something happens, or in traffic, who knows? But that is something that happens when there's that much of a negative energy charge. So the key to this has been for me to let go, to allow the universe to bring through, to trust the universe. And the more that I've done this, the more that I've allowed things to come into my life. I think in many ways, there are some things that I've associated with happiness in my life over this last year. A lot of it could have been significance of growing a YouTube channel to 1 million people. I know that was a goal for a long time. And then when that goal was reached, part of me almost felt guilty for it. Felt guilty for realizing that for 2 or 3 years, I really identified with significance, wanting validation from people. Even in relationships, I'd be in a relationship with someone and I would want their validation, love, and approval. And what I've realized is the more I let go of wanting love, validation, or approval, the more I feel good within myself, the more people give it to me. If I'm going out searching for a compliment, people feel that and they resist giving it. If I just realize my own worth and I just feel good and I focus on giving compliments, then guess what? They come back not because I'm giving it. It's like I'm not just going to give to get, but you get what you put out and you get what you believe you deserve. And if you're fishing for something, you're looking for something, you're lacking it, other people resist giving it to you. So the more I've gone within myself and then not felt like I needed to feel significant, the more that my energy's been magnetic and the more people, it's a crazy how much more attention there is now that I don't crave attention. How much more love there is now that I'm not craving love. It's a very interesting thing. But really, the more that I learn about vibration, raising vibration, all this stuff, the more I realize that the universe many times has a better plan than even we do. And the ego trying to control is the ego creating resistance. I had an appointment, I went to California for a couple days at the beginning of this week. Before I went, I was rushing to get all these appointments done, and I realized I was trying to control the outcome of different things. But then the more I let go, the more the universe would just show me different things, would show me different synchronicities, and give me a better case outcome than my ego could even imagine. And it's all about letting go. I'll be honest with you guys though. The biggest transformation in my life has come from not trying to control other people. People I love, family members, friends. I realized that in even past relationships, I've tried to control other people subconsciously. It wasn't a conscious thing, but I was trying to get validation and approval from other people. Either I was dating or people, family members, friends, maybe even subscribers, like wanting validation for different videos I put out. And basically what I've realized is that by trying to control people's perception of me, it was coming from a wounded place, an inner child wound that I had, where I didn't feel worthy, whole, and complete. And that if I would just have this validation, approval, or to be seen because I wasn't seen maybe when I was younger because of the pain and abuse that I went through, then I'd feel worthy, whole, and complete. But I realize now that love is unconditional. And that by allowing people to be themselves and not trying to control them to give me validation or approval, that's true freedom. And freedom is love. And the paradox is that by me trying to control it, I was infusing fear, and then it was literally repelling certain people in my life. And by letting go of that fear, letting go of that control, it is a different ballgame. People, I'm not trying to control anything. And by not doing that, it's funny because you get the actual result that you wanted. And it's the same thing with desire. The more that you want, the more that you lack. If you let go of wanting, you can then have. Or realize the vibration of you having what you want and the vibration of you wanting what you want are different. One is lacking, one has it. The key is letting go of the desire, not in a lazy way or like you're not motivated anymore, but letting go of the cravingness, the negative energy that comes from it of not feeling like this moment is good enough. When you can enjoy this moment now, that's when your vibration raises. When you can make the process part of it, make it a part of the process rather than the end result, that's where the magic is. The challenge is that we're always trying to go towards the end result. And that keeps us from feeling happy in the present moment, and that's what keeps more resistance in our life. So the main thing is letting go of expectation. There's also an analogy of this. Even in the movie, there's a movie called Wedding Crashers. And in the beginning of it, there's a couple that is, it's like a funny comedy movie. You got Vince Vaughn, you got Owen Wilson. They're like mediating a divorce. These two people are arguing over what they want. And it's like, I want this car or something like that. I want this car. And then the wife is like, no, you can't have that car, blah, 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 blah. And what happens is because of that internal pressure, that one wants something, the other one then resists giving it to them. But then what happens is the man lets go of wanting the car, and then the wife wants to give him the car. Says, no, you can have it, because then she has the choice to give it to him. Because before he was trying to control to get it. You see the energy difference? This happens so much, though. So much in relationships. And it's an energy dynamic thing. When you let go, you can then receive, because you're not trying to manipulate. It's really just a process of letting go of expectation, letting go of outcome, letting go of control, and allowing yourself to be guided by your higher self, by your intuition, and realizing that the universe is very creative. The universe can create something, can bring something to you in a much more magical way than the ego can. But the key is making the choice to let go. The challenge is that sometimes letting go is hard because we think that if we stay attached, that's safer. Oh, if I let go of this thing, then I'm not going to get it. That's furthest thing from the truth. If you let go, you're in ultimate abundance. And you'll either bring that thing back or you can bring back something else because of your vibe. You're not attaching. You're not resisting. So this is really about letting go. It's all about letting go, and you have to make the choice to let go. Sometimes we have these subconscious reasons that keep us tied to different things. And the reason we can't let go is because what we believe the benefits outweigh the pain. So it's our interpretation of it. If we're having trouble letting go of a person, then it may mean that if we let them go, that the benefits, that the pain of letting them go outweighs the benefits of letting them go. But if you let them go and allow them to be free, you may find that they come back to you anyways. It's a huge paradox. But it's the way that all attachment, if we're having trouble letting go of expectations because we believe that if we let go of expectation or outcome, then we won't get what we want. And that's why we attach to it even more and create more resistance. But instead, if we let go, we then allow. If we let go, we stop resisting and we stop creating that energy pattern. Remember, this is all an inner game. The more free you can feel. The thing is this episode is really about freeing your mind, freeing you from attachment. So the thing I'd like you to become aware of is, what are you attached to? Are you attached to a label? I used to be attached to having ADHD. I was told that by a doctor. I'm not a doctor, but I was told that by a doctor. I believed it. That became my reality. Letting go of that identity was huge for me, and I actually took on a new identity. That identity was being a meditative person, meditating every day. Completely different than my old identity. But it was a transition for me. And by letting go of ADHD, I then realized I have a lot of energy, but I can ground myself in grass and let that energy flow through my body rather than have it all pent up inside myself and think there's something wrong with me and have this negative belief system. You can let go of outcome by trusting the universe more, allowing things to come to you, getting more in alignment. Let go of negative beliefs. Let go of people that you feel attached to. Let go of rules, like you have to always be on time. You have to do this, you have to do that. You can be aware that you prefer something, but if you have a very strong negative desire and energy about it, then guess what? You're going to charge the opposite of it to you because it's so active within your energy field. You almost want to get to a vibrational place where you're good if it happens and you're good if it doesn't happen because your cup's already full. You're good if this person's with you. You're good if they're not with you. You're good either way because your cup is full. You're good if this thing happens in the way that you haven't intellectualized or thought of in your mind, and you're okay if it doesn't happen because your cup's already full. And it's attractive that way. Your energy is magnetic that way. And when you're not fishing for compliments, significance, validation, or any of these things because you know that those come from within, and you just let go as those feelings come up, you're going to feel more magnetic, more attractive than ever before. So this is the key to letting go of outcome, expectation. And the more you let go, the more you raise your vibe, the more free you feel, and the more your life begins to change in a very powerful way. If you want to learn the 5 secrets to letting go that will make you attractive AF, that's this video right here. Highly recommend that you watch it because it'll help you with what you learned in this video. The less attached you are, the more attractive you are. People are attracted to somebody that is in their own frame and doesn't